Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by CJ Vogel. It's time for the recruiting breakdown, brought to you by Mark Saunders of Allstate Insurance. We'll talk more about Mark in a little bit, but let's get to the bigger piece of this recruiting breakdown, and that's all the positive news right now going on at the University of Texas. On Monday, they get 3 commitments across 3 different categories. They get not only do they get the portal with Andrew Makuba, they get the 2024 with Xavier Filsaime, who's committed away from a flip from Florida. And they even get a 2025 commitment from a tight end, Amari Winston out of Calhoun, Georgia, that they targeted very early. Jeff Banks and group. The last 24 hours have been a whirlwind. CJ, what are your thoughts on the last 24 hours for Texas?
Hey, man, when recruiting at Texas gets going, it really gets going. And we've seen it all throughout Sarkisian's tenure here. You know, normally we see it right at the flip from June to July, right before that 4th of July calendar celebration. It's coming right again. You know, right now, right before National Signing Day for the 2024 class. We've seen it previously, you know, with Anthony Hill, Cam Williams, Kelvin Banks. The flips are imminent. They love to put an exclamation mark on the final class right before signing day. And, I mean, we're clearly in the middle of it. It's bonkers.
Yep, we mentioned those 3, but Texas still has offers out to a couple of guys. Ty Anthony Smith, the linebacker out of Jasper. We're going to give people a quick breakdown there. He is still debating between Texas and Texas A&M. He has remained committed to A&M. We have not heard final word. That's something that we're going to be monitoring in the last 24 hours before signing day. As we record this, and I want to make sure that people know that we're recording it right at around 10:40 in the morning on Tuesday. Trey Moore has not made a decision. That's the linebacker edge prospect out of UTSA, had 14 and a half sacks, 17 tackles for loss a year ago. He is said to be down between Texas and Alabama. That's a lot of words. Then we also have the defensive line group that Texas is still monitoring before tomorrow. That includes Alex Foster from Greenville, Mississippi, 6'5", 255. He is currently committed to Baylor. Dominic McKinley, a 5-star out of Lafayette, Louisiana. He's currently committed to A&M, but saying he's going to visit multiple schools in January. Texas continues to be on the lookout there. Then also the third one is De'Alon Evans, who has been committed to A&M, but did a home visit with Blake Gideon last week, as well as Aaron Hampton, the fellow Longhorn commit. That's a lot of words. So we're gonna take that. That's a lot of recruiting news and information coming right out of the gate. Okay, all fair stuff. What we're gonna do the rest of this is actually take a step back and look at some of the things that we think we want to talk about today, because there's a lot of news out there. There's not a lot of analysis. CJ and I want to take you through one specific area. We're gonna both take 3 players that we think are a little bit unheralded in this recruiting class and tell you why we think they're actually better than what maybe the public perception might be, their ranking might be, et cetera. We're going to do that next right now. All right, but first I want to say thank you to Mark Saunders. When it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? Here's some good news. Texas Allstate agent Mark Saunders is the only insurance agent you need to help keep tabs on protection for all your stuff. Everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Call Texas Allstate agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. Are you in good hands? With more than 35 years of experience, you will be with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Give him a call, 512-218-8571. Prices vary based on how you buy, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates. We appreciate you, Mark. I know your son's going down to the Sugar Bowl. I hope to meet him at that Sugar Bowl party. All right, let's keep going here, CJ. We look at it and we talk about the unheralded prospects, right? In this process, you've got 3 and I've got 3. Let's go one at a time. I'm going to let you start with your number 1. Parker Livingston, who's somebody that you know very well.
Yeah, and I've mentioned Parker a number of times, and this should be no surprise to anybody that's followed me, on the Twitterverse, on the recruiting trail. I've mentioned Parker Livingston almost to a pulp. He's a name that I always speak very highly of, but for good reason. And I think the versatility of Parker Livingstone is one that kind of gets overlooked. You see the size, you see the reach, you see, really the length that he provides on the outside, and you think, all right, he's a big body, he can go down the field and catch the ball, but there's more to his game than that. Having watched him return punts and kickoffs the last couple of years at Lovejoy, it's impressive just how well he moves at 6'4". That length is not going to go away, and the speed, you can assume, will only improve. And he's already got great speed. He's a 200 and 400 track kid, multi-sport athlete. His brother played baseball at Texas Tech for a semester. Listen, I love Parker Livingstone. All I've ever seen him do in high school is make plays, and that's a fortuitous offense over there at Lovejoy, and they spread the ball over a lot. There's a game at Allen High School this year, 4 total touchdowns. He threw one. He had a punt return for touchdown, and then he found the end zone twice through the air. Talented player. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the state, and I think he's one of my favorite in the Texas class so far.
Good. I think that's good. I like him as a 50-50 ball catcher. I think he's got those long arms. He seems to adjust well to the ball in the air. You know what I mean? I think those are things that skills that can translate. The question is whether or not he's going to be able to get open at the next level, because that's a hard thing that not everybody can do. But certainly has the size, the speed, and I think he's just a sneaky athlete, right? I mean, it's that kind of, you don't expect the athleticism that you see necessarily. All right, I'm going to go with my first one that I think is a little too unheralded. That's Alex January, defensive lineman, 6'5", 300 plus out of Duncanville. Helped Duncanville now to back-to-back state championships. Look, Colin Simmons is the brand name, so to speak, on the Duncanville defense. He can wreck shop. We know that. One of the state's, if not the state's top prospect, one of a handful of them. But Alex January has just now started focusing solely on football the last couple of years. And I just think, his dad, Mike, played at Texas. I just think he has a little something extra to him, that he's going to get the best out of himself, I think, and understands what that means to do. You look at him whenever you watch him on film, and you see a guy that can really move people too. And I don't know that he's going to play early. Some of these guys that we're talking about here, they may not play as true freshmen a lot of snaps. But I'm thinking long-term, he's got NFL size. He's got an NFL motor. He's got NFL ability. And so, look, he is not the highest rated defensive lineman right now in Texas's class. Could he be eventually the best of the group? Yeah, I think he has that kind of ability. So I went with Alex January as my first one.
No, I'm a fan of January's, and we saw it in the state championship, just how impactful he can be in terms of getting towards the backfield. Him and Colin Simmons on the same line, forced a fumble and the other recovered the fumble. If that's not a sign of what could come at Texas, I don't know what is, but that's encouraging. Bobby, I'm going to stay on the defensive line for my second one. I'm going DeAndre Robinson out of Florida. I love this kid. Why he has a 3-star by his name, I'm not sure. But again, I'm very glad, I say it all the time, I'm very glad I'm not the one in charge of making the ratings. It really comes down to who was after him. That really surprised me. And it's teams that really produce a lot of talented defensive linemen. Florida, obviously, the home school is in the mix. Ohio State wanted him desperately. This was a school that we got word that, hey, if he wants to come to us, we're going to take him. DeAndre Robinson, when you talk about physicality on the interior, that's him. And I'm very excited to pair him up with Alex January. I think the two of them, where they play at the next level is up for Bo Davis to decide. But I do think that both bring the physical tools, the raw strength, and again, just the ability to step into a college program right away and see physical changes to their bodies is very exciting to me. I love the defensive line prospects really right now, Bobby. And I'm sure, with you having January and me having Robinson, the hit rate will be there for one of them.
Well, and here's the thing that I would go back to on this is that DeAndre Robinson also is a guy that is just barely scratching the surface of who he's going to be.
Definitely.
He's not been in a full-time weight room or on a meal plan or any of those things where you can see him grow naturally, yet keep his strength and even improve on it. He looks like a naturally strong player. When he gets his hands on you as an offensive lineman, you're kind of out of kilter. I mean, and so he can basically get you off balance. He can shuck you a little bit. I just think he's one of those guys that's going to be phenomenal in that regard. All right, I'll go to my next one, and that's Christian Clark, the running back out of Arizona. I don't know how to say this other than, this is a guy that had 50-plus tackles, I think, as a linebacker, as a junior, shows such great feet in the hole, and then just really seeks contact and bounces off of it a lot. I think that if of all the players that Sashard Choice ranked in the running back room, I'm not so sure he wouldn't be first. Not necessarily with the other guys. Well, not necessarily in the running back room at Texas, but I'm talking about in this running back class across the country. And the reason I say that is because he has short space quickness, great lateral quickness, and he's tough as nails.
Yeah.
And when he gets a crease, he hits it. He's not a dancer. And that's what plays in college football. That's what plays in pro football. So I think he has all those abilities. The issue with him is he was injured going into this season, so he did not get a lot of playing time early, didn't rack up a lot of stats. His team also has another good running back. I'm a big fan, and I've said this from day one, of Christian Clark.
With Clark, I think it's interesting, first off, and this also applies for Gibson as well in this conversation, but the guys that were in the state of Texas at the position are all extremely talented. Taylor Tatum going to Oklahoma. James Peoples, Ohio State found a good one with him. Caden Durham just lit up the state championship and is heading to LSU. Texas, and Tashard Choice, to his credit, found two guys from out of state. And I'm with you. I'm a big fan of Christian Clark's, but I think it's a testament to say, hey, Tashard Choice is pretty good at what he does. There's no secret about that.
He's clearly figured out what he wants and who he wants. And he's been we use the term witch. He's been an absolute witch on the recruiting trail the last couple of years. Okay, hey, before we go to our final guy, I want to say thanks again to Mark Saunders, the Texas All-State agent. Call him today at 512-218-8571. Are you in good hands? With more than 35 years of experience, you will be with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Give him a call at 512-218-8571. From starting new policies with proper coverages and bundling discounts, or even driving safely, Mark knows how to maximize savings for you today. So call him today at 512-218-8571. Thank you very much, Mark. All right, your last one. You've already gone with Parker Livingstone and DeAndre Robinson. I went with Alex January and Christian Clark. Where are you going last?
Yeah, Bobby, I've kind of followed your trail. You go you go defensive line, I go defensive line. You're going to Arizona, I'm following with you. I'm sticking with Santana Wilson. I'm a fan of his. Any blue chip caliber prospect that comes from, the NFL pedigree that Santana Wilson does, I'm going to take a chance on that. And his father, Adrian Wilson, played 12 years in the NFL for the Arizona Cardinals. He's been around the game for forever. He eventually moved into the front office role up there as well. Listen, Santana Wilson's going to have the athleticism. We see it on tape. He has the length at cornerback. I think he's a bit unheralded. The whole point of this show, Texas fans really aren't talking about him, and I think that's a credit, again, to the Texas staff going out and finding some blue chip, 5-star caliber guys in the defensive backfield. So Santana Wilson, he's my third guy. I think he brings a lot to the table. He's football smart, football savvy, and he has the physical tools. I think a year or two of development is going to go a long way, and we could certainly see, that same type of path of his father.
Long arms, too. And it's easy to overlook him, and here's why. Here are the other defensive back recruits. Xavier Filsaime flips from Florida. He's a 5-star. Wardell Mack flips from Florida. Kobe Black, 5-star in some accounts, commits to Texas a week before signing day.
Yep.
So there's a reason that these guys can be overlooked, and it has almost zero to do with their actual play on the field. So yeah. I can appreciate one. This is going to be one that it may surprise you. I'm going Zena Umeozulu.
Okay.
The last one, he played out of position much of his senior year, but I have been told that when he showed up on campus over summertime, he was one of the best 2 or 3 overall looking prospects that showed up all summer. Ryan Lee, another one, by the way.
Yeah.
in that list. And, Zena is, if he has his brother's work ethic and care, et cetera, and that carries through from that family, in which I really think they stress academics and stress effort. I think that's just going to be big time for him long term. We all expect Colin Simmons to be Colin Simmons, and I'm not debating that. It's not a question. But look, don't discount Zena Umeozulu. I think that needs to be said, because if you do, I think you're doing it at your own peril. Because behind the scenes, I know Texas extraordinarily excited about getting him to join the fold as well. Because he's just, look, he's 6'4", 6'5", 225 pounds, and still, has yet to get on a college campus, has yet to get into that strength and conditioning program as well as the nutrition program. Could he be 6'5", 255 lining up at edge for Texas? It's not unthinkable, right?
With that bend and athleticism, it's what you want in a prototypical edge rusher. With Zena specifically, I think for him is playing with that nastiness that we've seen from Nato at times whenever he's in the game. There's a chip on his shoulder. There's feistiness. I want to see that consistently with Zena at the next level. And I think, it's going to be one of those things that it's going to take some adjustment to, obviously, playing in the trenches in college. The consistency of it is that next step for me, because when he's flipped that switch and he's on, you see why, so many schools were after him. Right. But there is some inconsistencies that I've seen in person a few times. But again, when he's on, it's hard to find a defensive line prospect that can't get to the quarterback with much ease than him.
Well, look, none of these guys are going to be any good unless they stick to it and go hard.
100%.
We can sit here and pontificate all we want, but there's a lot of work between here and there that they've got to do. But anyways, I enjoy these kind of conversations, because I want to, at times I want to highlight some guys that don't get enough TLC from us because they're not committee late or they're not the top of the marks, et cetera. There are other guys in this class that I feel are similarly situated, but those are the guys we have time to talk about today. All right, CJ, that's going to do it. Thank you to CJ Vogel. Thanks to Mark Saunders of Allstate for his sponsorship of the show. We'll likely be back today with more recruiting news. We also have a 7:00 show tonight on the live stream with Rod, CJ, and Aaron Hogan. For CJ, I'm Bobby Burton, and thanks for watching. Hook 'em.